What is going on, YouTube? In today's episode of Rad Dad Life, I'm going to teach you how to squat efficiently. Good technique. That's the best way to do it, not just pick the bar up and squat back down. No good. I want good, flawless technique. All right.
Just let me fall to my groove. Just let me fall to my groove.
All right, welcome back. So in today's video, we're going to talk about squatting. There's a lot of variables with squatting. There's a lot of techniques, a lot of bar positioning, a lot of hand placement, a lot of leg placement, and it dictates entirely on the individual and their body mechanics, their height, their leg ratio compared to the upper body torso ratio. There's a lot of differences. So the best thing I can recommend you do is literally squat in at least 6 to 8 positions, maybe even 10. Try them out. What I mean by that is literally squat. So first, before you do anything, is get in a squat position and let me see if you can do this. However you think your squat position will be, and then squat down. Are you able to have a conversation? Are you leaning forward? Are you having to hold on? Are you on balance? Yeah, I have lifting shoes on, but I can do this flat foot or with shoes on. It doesn't make a difference. This makes it a little easier, and that's why I like lifting shoes. But how's your upper body positioning? Am I downwards? Am I leaning forward to stay in this? Or are you able to sit upright like this? That's the first thing I want you to do. The next thing is that if you're uncomfortable in your assumed position where you thought you'd be good at, move your stance a little further out. See how you feel here. Are you able to have more of an upright position? Because the key is always to have an upright position. Because if you're squatting, the bar's on your back here. Use this as an example. So what you want in an ideal squat is you want to stay center mass, meaning your bar path and everything stays with your hips, stays with your heels. You don't want to be forward, you don't want to be back, because that's putting unwanted strain on your spine and in areas that you really don't want to lift or work. You're going to strain them, your lower back, you're going to strain your neck. So when you're doing it, you can do a PVC pipe that's very popular and start practicing different hand positions and positions on your neck. You can do the low bar, you can do the high bar. So we'll do it like this. What I don't want to see is for you to get the squat stance, go here. Because guess what? Now that bar is completely away from your hips, and where the moment arm is, where the actual pivot of your joints are. That's where your power is right here. If you're leaning over here and you have 135 pounds, something even really light, you're putting a lot of strain on your lower back, your neck. You're using your core to hold it. Rather than being like this, now I'm much more center mass. The bar is literally right over my heels. So get into whatever position you need to, wide, narrow, even your toe positioning is sorry, a little out of breath. Even the positioning of your foot, you can be directly at 12 o'clock, or you can be at 1 o'clock and 11 o'clock, or even 2 and 10. That is also going to dictate the movement of the bar. It's going to help you feel more stable. So with everything in squatting or literally everything in working out, is consistency. Having the same bar placement, having the same grip on the bar, the same consistency, the same rotation of your elbow, the same direction of your toes. If you want them at 11 and 1, whatever it is, stay consistent. Find something that works for you and then repeat that movement. Best thing I can tell you guys is do those movements first. First, start squatting with nothing at all. Get into that position. See how you do. If you're too far forward, too far back, unstable, or if you can't even get into that position, you might have really, really tight hips or IT bands. Something like this, a foam roller, will kind of help break up those really tight, IT bands in this case, or you can do it on your glute or your groin here in this area. Break up that muscle, loosen it up because it's really, really tight and knotted up and it doesn't give you good mobility in your hips. You might have to do this before you can even start squatting, because there's no point of starting squatting if you have bad hip mobility, because then you're not going to get anywhere. And if you do get somewhere, it's going to be probably with poor technique and you're going to hurt yourself later down the line. So swallow your pride, get in good technique, is number one. Secondly, then you can start lifting the weights. So I don't want you to be like, oh, look, I can do it. You'll be a half rep or nobody likes you. You're terrible. Or you can go full bottom like this. Very, very excessive. It looks super cool. I don't think it's absolutely necessary. Just right about below parallel for me, especially if you're a power lifter. You're not trying to waste unwanted energy going below what you need to, but you also don't want to cut it too close to might be a yellow or a red light or a white light. Judges watch your depth. So your hips have to go below your knees. So not good. All that probably pass, but here it will pass for sure without a doubt. 3 white lights. For you guys who aren't powerlifting still, I believe that is the most effective squatting position. You don't need to go too low, all the way ass to grass. A little unnecessary. You kill a lot of energy going all the way to the bottom and up, and your gain of muscle is very minimal from going that extra like 2 inches. I wouldn't recommend it. You could. I mean, it looks cool, like I said. Nobody's gonna talk smack on you ever. But do not start squatting until you have your technique down, which means either just using the bar with no weight on there, having that same bar movement, always getting the bar in the correct positioning, correct hand placement, rotation up, chest up as best as you can, feet in the correct direction, squatting over and over and over again, building that mind-muscle connection. And then, once you have that good technique, that's when you can start building muscle. You cannot build muscle. It's just like that pothole reference I said earlier. You can't go 120 miles an hour on a shitty ass road. You're gonna break something. Same here. You can't have good technique and start squatting really heavy. You're gonna hurt yourself and it's gonna look bad. So why? It's a lose-lose. Have good technique, don't lift much weight, you get props for having good technique. Have good technique, start lifting more weight, you get props for both. There you go. So next step is we're gonna cut to me lifting weights from different angles to show you my bar path, my bar positioning, the consistency in my reps, and you kind of get an idea of how I even start to warm up. Lightweight, always, and then slowly work your way up so that you get a feel how you're feeling for that day. You don't want to go 0 to 100, you get hurt that way. So you always want to start off nice and slow, get those legs warmed up, start to get that mind-muscle connection warmed up, making sure that you're feeling pretty good, and then from there, you can start lifting weights. So here we go. All right, so there's a bunch of different ways to squat, high bar, low bar, and it's all based on your body preferences. It's all based on your dynamics, where your ratios are. So do you have longer legs? Do you have a longer torso? Are you more proportional? And that's gonna really dictate your stance, either between a wide stance, narrow stance. If you're more quad dominant like myself, I got no hammies, but up front, it's all the show. Out back, nothing, no hammies. So I'm very quad dominant when I squat, very narrow, as you saw in my other video, the deadlift. I'm very narrow when I deadlift the same. Also, I can high bar, it doesn't do anything, but for me, low bar, it sits a little bit better and it kind of puts me in a more comfortable position to squat. And so for that reason, I'm able to kind of hit heavier weight. So I'll show you guys both here. So the key with every movement is always consistency. Same movement, same bar path every single time. So this is my low bar, sits on my supraspinatus, my rotator cuff. We're just gonna go down and up, down and up. Try to hit the hole at the same angle every time. No blowing of the legs, no shifting, no moving. Realistically, if it was a heavy weight, I would take a deep breath in and out. Okay. And then we go to high bar, which sits just right behind your neck. It sits on your traps. Don't put it on your neck. It's gonna hurt a snap ton. And you'll see people wear a little, for lack of better words, the sissy pad. You'll see people wear the sissy pad or on the bar or roll a towel on your neck. Honest truth, in high school, they really didn't teach us how to lift very good. So we would squat. They didn't teach us how to squat, and so obviously we put the bar on our back. A lot of time it was shifted forward, so it kind of sat a little bit on our necks. So we did take our t-shirts off and roll them up. I've learned a lot since then, and if you guys are the younger type, learn from my mistakes. Don't do that. It's painful, dangerous, and you really can't get much weight up. So on a high bar, you sit on your traps, just like that, nice and comfortable, have a good solid grip. I'm a little more upright, so I spread my stance a little bit further out. And same thing, look up and squat down, up. Same, pull every time. Like I said, in the high bar, it does shift me forward a little bit, but nevertheless, it's still comfortable. Still a comfortable squat for me. I just enjoy low bar. It's comfortable, easier, and I can get more weight up. So I do have the belt. It's not actually on or anything. I just wear it, just kind of keeps my lower back or my core warm. Doesn't really do anything until I actually tighten it up. So I'm at 225 now. This is my next warm up. So I'll show you from a different angle. This is going to be a low bar squat again. Make sure you have it squared on your back, nice and level. Up, and same as before, same bar path every time. Nice. All right, it's the same working set again, 225. This time it's going to be in high bar. I don't usually do this. This is for the demonstration of the video. I don't go back and forth between high and low bar. I pick one for the day, most times low bar, unless it's for some reason giving my wrist a little bit of pain, but it hasn't in a long time. So high bar here, squeeze your traps together, or your rhomboids, so it sits on a nice pillow, and up. Got a little forward there. Alright, so another thing to know with squatting is the position of your grip and the angle of your arms are going to dictate the bar positioning on your back. For instance, if I go out, let's say finger or pinkies on these little grooves here, and I have my wrist and everything upwards like this, naturally my body is going to want to be tilted forward this way because that's the way my arms are kind of pushing me forward. Now if you're able to bring your arms straight in, you naturally put yourself in as you can see, a more natural body positioning, more upright. And I know those people who are a little bit longer legs typically have to have a wider squat stance, and because they have longer legs, they have to push their hips out and typically do something called a lawn chair. It's kind of when they close like this so they can get proper depth. Low bar helps them because when it's low bar, you have that bar a little bit lower on your back, and when you're going down, it's a little bit better center mass. Rather than if you're sitting a high bar, now the bar is kind of upright. So like I said earlier, squatting and proper squatting, at least proper squatting mechanics and technique, have a lot to do with the individual's body mechanics. It is not the same squat for every person. It's not the same squat for even the same person of the same height because there's different leverage ratios. So for instance, my wife, I'm 3 inches taller than my wife, but yet she still has longer legs than me. So when she squats, she has to naturally have a wider stance, pushes her hips back, and then comes down this way. More of a downward appearance or more of a downward squat. It's really hard for her to sit upright. It takes a lot of mobility, a lot of stretching, a lot of core strength to naturally sit upwards. This is the next working set here. We'll get started. Yeah, you want everything to be consistent because you want to build that mind-muscle connection. The more you do it, the more mind-muscle connection is strengthened. Think of it this way. Think of it as a really, really crappy road that you drive on. It sucks. The more you drive on it though, it doesn't really work like that, but let's say you start to have it fixed. You fix a little bit of potholes, the road gets a little smoother. You start to retar it, that gets a little bit smoother then. That's exactly how lifting weights are with anything. The first time you do it, it's like driving a really crappy road. Potholes everywhere, you're shaking, you can barely move anything, but the more you do it, the more you build on that foundation, that mind-muscle connection, that neuromuscular connection, the better it gets, the easier the movements are, and then it's more focused on strength rather than actually just trying to do the movement correctly. So that's why everything has to be consistent. A little bit of a pause at that one. Woo! Feeling good. So like I said, usually This is nice, still a warm up, but I haven't squatted probably over a month and consistently, and a lot longer than that. I do love squatting, so I feel like it does help that I have a passion for it and I enjoy doing it, so I built it up pretty good. So even when I'm not working out legs very often, I can still hit weight consistently, even though this is tiny weight in comparison to what I used to lift. Nevertheless, I'm gonna do 1 rep, maybe 2, seeing how it feels. And again, with no knee sleeves on, my belt super loose, just to get a feel of how the weight feels on my back. You know, it's been quite a while since I've lifted anything with 3 plates on it. All right, not bad. Yeah, not too bad. So that's the reason why you see a lot of lifts, especially power lifters, take so long in the prep work of actually getting ready to lift. You know, they do all this movement, they do all this adjustment, because we want to have the same consistent lift. So that's why you'll see me make sure I have my fingers in the same spot, shift my neck, make sure it's in there nice and snug, make sure that it feels centered on my back, and then lift. The last thing you want to do is unrack it, shift your body weight, use a lot of energy doing that. So if you guys have any questions at all, don't be afraid to leave them in the comments. I do read them all, I do reply to them all. And as always, have a rad day. Squat on, baby. Squatty. Quasimodo.